Thank you, everyone, for joining. We're here with the makers of Land Ho and cast, Martha Stevens, Aaron Katz, Paul Einhorn, and Earl Nelson. This is a specific project, I understand, because you wrote it for your cast. Is that correct? Tell me what that process was and actually your relationships.
Well, Aaron and I normally make our own movies separate, but we thought it would be fun to get together, and it was really started with the idea of taking Erlen to Iceland. And Erlen's actually my first cousin once removed, and so we're relatives. and around the same time that we were discussing this idea, This Is Martin Bonner came out, and that's Paul's the star of that. And we saw that film, and we thought Paul was great. So we actually talked to them first before we even started writing the script, so we could sort of use their voice and use that to build the story of these two guys.
And what is so appealing about taking this gentleman to Iceland?
Well, hello.
Hello.
Taking me to Iceland?
Yeah.
I mean, both Erlen and Paul just have really unique personalities, and we wanted to just kind of, the movie is kind of a thing about opposites is a big part of the movie, so they play characters that are opposites, and a couple of Americans in a place like Iceland that's just so opposite from anything that we experience in the U.S. And we knew, Erlen, you'd been to Iceland before in real life.
So they're characters is really what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And the
characters.
Australian.
Yeah, Australian American. So.
Sorry, Paul, but you live in
Sorry,
America
he's an
now.
Australian.
Yeah, I mean it's like a odd couple story, and Erlen's just a really fun person to watch, and Paul's a really interesting person to watch. So.
Well, what did you put them through story-wise that
God.
let them... well, what did they put you through story-wise?
Oh, man. I tell you what. I'm going to say this probably every day for the next 3 days, but
Probably will.
the first time here it was a really demanding physically and mentally.
Weather is something else.
It was weather, the locales, the sets. Everything was not an easy shoot. I don't think for anyone in the crew or anybody. It was just amazing.
We went all over the southern coast of Iceland, so there's just like the last like week and a half of shooting was great because we were just in Reykjavik, but the rest of the shoot was a lot of traveling, so it was a lot of moving your luggage and picking up and going and being on rural roads, like very, very treacherous roads.
And by rural, you mean rural.
I mean, like,
Rural.
like your car's doing this the whole
I
time.
mean, roads
Yeah.
is a very
Road-
loose
road
way
is-
of
yeah,
describing
it's
what
kind
we
of
were
a
on.
road.
You could tell where the
called
road
the
was.
pothole highway.
Yeah.
I mean, there was potholes. It wasn't a highway. It was one pothole to the next pothole.
I mean, it's their earth. Their earth is there's nothing laid. There's no gravel. It's just
Yeah,
this
that's-
weird black.
Yeah,
soil.
ash.
I don't know.
See, the whole island's black. All the sand's black because it's all volcano. You know?
Yeah, and then it's deep reds and other colors. It's just, you turn a corner and you think you're on a different planet every like half hour.
It sounds difficult, but kind of an amazing experience.
It's worth it.
as well.
Completely worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I had never been anywhere like that before. So Martha had gone to Scout in March, but when we showed up to make the movie, that was the first time I'd ever been there. And so when we were going around and looking at locations that Martha had seen or we'd looked at online, it was just, I don't know, really inspiring to see all these places. And there's so many, it's just so different. Like these roads with all the potholes on it, people would tell us, don't go too far, don't walk too far off the road because there's volcanic, Erlen, you were talking about this. There's like volcanic tunnels underneath, and you can fall through.
You don't want that to happen.
No.
No.
There was a couple of people that disappeared in the 6 to 8 weeks before we got
Yeah,
there.
they're like
Went out hiking.
True.
young people backpacking and stuff. They just
Wow.
What I'd like to see is how the geology and the magnificent locales affected the acting and the work, because it made you feel like you were part of something, but also the really, really small part of it. Like humans on that earth are just minor. I
Well, there's
think.
no substitute for a live location.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And was that part of your thinking as you guys?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, as a filmmaker, I'm really driven by scenery and locations and like the sense of place and how that works with this, like the place is a character basically, and so I had loved Iceland for so long, and it's sort of like this little fairy world, you know. There's like this crazy moss, and it just looks like we've already said like from another planet. So I think Iceland, it was like Iceland first, Erland second, Paul third, and then everything else came together.
When you fly into Reykjavik on a certain windy day, you fly over volcanic fields, and it's just green moss, and you're flying in, and you think, where the hell am I going?
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, yeah.
You guys play ex-brothers-in-law, and you're on this kind of road trip of discovery, right?
Yeah.
Can you think of? I mean, I love location as well. Is there a moment when that location really helped you in a performance, added to a moment as you guys were finding these characters in the story?
Lan Manalua.
Well, I guess that probably one of the things that got me the most was the hot springs. Mm-hmm. When you get out of the water and it's 24 degrees, and in the water it's 90-some degrees, okay? And there's this green slime that's coming down the stream,
right.
And you have to dodge the green slime. So it had to make yourself feel like, of course, you know, the worst thing that we ever had over there, I've lived worse than that, so it didn't bother me, okay? I mean, I've slept in worse places, I've eaten worse food, I've been through worse weather in my lifetime. And to me, it was just a coming together of ideas of Martha and Aaron, and throwing us in the middle of it and trying to make it work, and they did, you know.
How did you guys build a relationship? You have this kind of a love-hate kind of friction thing going on. How did you didn't know each other before the film?
Martha and Aaron just said it's a reality show.
We did a little pre-shoot. We shot the first 5 minutes of the film earlier. We shot that in May, and then we shot the rest of the film. So it was an experiment to see if they could work off of each other like that. I don't know. I think we.
It developed. It developed well. Two really extremely opposite people.
Yeah.
In all ways.
Good guy and a bad guy. Well, what I thought was something was, and I didn't realize it till later, my accent versus his accent. You know, that's enough to.
You just need to subtitle the whole movie.
Is that what it's
There are times during editing where we had to ask, like, what? Do you know what this person's saying?
We'd look at things a few different times and be like, wow, we don't know what Paul's saying. You tell this one story while you guys are smoking a joint, and we will probably watch this one clip 20 times trying to figure out what you were saying. But I think the movie in general, as I said, is about opposites and about pairs of people. So, you know, there's two of us, and I think we're in a lot of ways opposite, and two of them, and they're opposite, and we shot with two cameras. So, yeah, it felt like there was a sort of a balance of opposites going on a lot. And I think that, you know, going back to some of the stuff about where we're shooting and how their relationship developed, I think experiencing this place just is so good for our performance approach, which really we had a full script, and that was the basis of everything, but also combining that with having these experiences all together for the first time, I think played a huge part in how the performances and their relationship developed.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the two cameras, because from a performance approach, that I think would probably help a great deal. How did you initially plan that? When did that come in, and how did that work for you guys with not having to deal with?
We thought about, you know, at a certain point, we thought that maybe we didn't need a script, and the idea of the two cameras came from, you know, improvising and being able to have coverage for that. And but then we ended up having a script, and we still decided to go ahead with the two cameras just because, even though there's a script, they're both sort of off the cuff sometimes. Sometimes there are these moments of brilliance, and we don't know where they come. Like, they just have very special minds. And,
were you thinking about the idea that, like, you know, you always could do whatever and you always knew it would be on camera regardless, or did you just tune it out, or How much were you thinking about the camera while we're shooting? Not at
I
all.
didn't. The only thing I thought about and realized is that it made me appreciate acting more. Is when they would shoot this way, and then they'd shoot over my shoulder, and you had to try to say the exact same words twice, plus 4 retakes or 5 retakes or 6 retakes. So you're looking at 12 to 20 times of trying to say the exact same words.
Glamorous, huh?
And that's tough. And to me, that's my hat's off to actors when it comes to
when
that.
we were shooting coverage of you guys talking and we were shooting your both at the same time, do you think that helped your performance because you knew? Because sometimes when you're just shooting with a single camera and it's over your shoulder and you're still having to perform, but in this way, it's being simultaneously being captured. Do you think that helped?
Absolutely. Yeah, I only ever caught myself thinking maybe once or twice during the shoot about where I was standing for coverage. The rest of the time, the camera's disappeared. And it really helps when you know you've got a scene and you just know you got it as an actor. And you also know that you didn't miss it because the camera was on 2. You had 2 cameras set up. That's like a luxury.
Yeah.
Total luxury.
I mean, in some ways, even though there's twice as many cameras as on a normal shoot, it makes the camera more invisible because you're not thinking like, oh, what's being captured in this angle.
Yeah.
You just know that it's all there, and I think that they were able to live in the moment of the scene without thinking like, oh, but we're gonna flip it around. I mean, we had a couple scenes where we had 4 actors, and so that was also really helpful in that case because even though not everyone was on camera at all times, at least we're able to. It was our longest scene, and I think it was really great to be able to kind of not have them do it 50 times and only have them do it 20 sometimes.
Why co-direct? I mean, it's a trend. It's been noticed more and more people are doing it. But you guys both direct on your own features. Why decide to do it this way?
I think Aaron and I were both in between projects at about this time last year, and so we just wanted to do something that we could make happen, and something a little lighter than the projects we were pursuing. As it's just an experiment, like it's just something to try. Might as well try it, and see what it's like.
Yeah.
And we didn't really think like, oh, how will this be? Like, should we co-direct? Martha just proposed this idea, and it sounded like a great idea. And I didn't really think about like, oh, what will this mean, or like, how will we do it? We've known each other for a long time, for over 10 years, and it just seemed like a project that would, as Martha said in her initial text to me when she first proposed it, call for both of our approaches. And I think that because we do both direct our own films, it felt like we didn't have like any kind of competition or difficulty in finding a way to balance things. It just felt like we both did a little bit of everything.
There needed to be 2 of us to wrangle these 2.
Right. How did that work for you guys? Was that
It was these two.
Did you play them off of each other? Did you have like the good parent and the bad parent?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
either. I thought it was so lucky because they would, the night before or the morning of or whatever, they would write down what the feeling they wanted me to portray in a scene or a particular situation, but it wasn't written in concrete. I mean, they gave me the flexibility and I want to, and maybe this is not the right words to say, but the script was one thing, but as long as you got their point across of what they wanted to do in the movie, that was fine with them. As long, because they told me about the feelings. Probably the worst thing was the damn uniforms. I mean the clothes, okay? Because we had the golden. Come on.
No, I can't say it.
There was one outfit that there was like one. We had a lot of scenes where they wore this one particular outfit, and
he burned his. I bronzed mine.
The thing about having both Aaron and myself, it was like Aaron could go to Erland's hotel room and confirm his outfit for the next day and talk about the script, and I could sit down with our DP and work out the shot list. So it was like we just were able to.
Yeah, it was nice to be able to split up duties sometimes, and Yeah, especially in a country that we weren't familiar with. It just felt like there was a lot of challenges, and having both of us to get at those challenges was
I
really
understand it was a really
good.
tough production. I understand there might have been a lot of beer involved.
There's
as
so
well.
much beer involved. There's so much beer.
Was there?
Beer.
In our house, there were. Yeah.
Oh yeah, your
I was going
place,
to say,
yeah.
not in the movie. I didn't think that.
Well,
you
there's a
know.
lot of gull. Is that what we consume the most?
And Viking.
Viking and gull. It's
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
Which
they're-
may be the
they're
same thing
domestic.
in different
It's the same thing,
And
but different
cans.
cans.
And they made us drink it too.
Sure.
It was
Yeah.
really
There's
cruel.
like they
It
only
was
serve
cruel.
tall boys, really. They don't do like the cans of beer. So it's like just a lot of guzzling tall boys. And there's
Just
a lot
to
of
stay warm.
and a lot of dance parties.
Dance.
We had a lot of dance parties.
Bjork, was there
I
a
wanna-
Bjork sighting?
There was
Two.
Two Bjork sightings.
Oh,
I mean, it's
oh, that's
back and
right. Yeah,
forth,
at
or was
Bjork.
there-
At-
No,
at-
two different times.
Yeah.
Small
At Dill
country.
Restaurant.
It is.
Yeah.
She
And
was
she
wearing
was dressed
the
the
same
same,
outfit.
yeah, both times.
Well, Matt, well, I hope you have a great time and good luck at Sundance.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you guys so much for joining. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
for having
Thanks,
us.
Rob.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.